Welcome to day 3 of the Ashyn Province campaign. In our last video, day 2, Commander-in-Chief and Knight of the House of Crimson Orchard, Christopher, finally tasted victory as he eliminated one of 4 enemy captains, Lilith the Vampire. Once a charming noblewoman of the crown, Lilith is now gone. But Christopher's troubles are far from over. He also learned at the end of day 2 that the map that he had in his possession is wrong. All the intelligence is wrong. The new map reveals a different relationship between the tables, throwing a wrench into Christopher's battle plan and supply needs. Will Christopher overcome fog of war, supply shortages, and an ever-impatient queen? We will have to wait and see here in day 3. Only the dice can tell. It is the morning of day 3 at Raven's Landing, our first table. A thin fog hovers over the beach as Her Majesty's ship arrives, carrying supplies, a map, and 2 units of Royal Guard. These are elite crown soldiers, courtesy of my queen, and are also known as the Queen's Guard. My wife Julie plays the role of Oriana and makes off-table decisions remotely. She has her own pool of supplies and costs when it comes to shipping aid. I receive an additional 10 supply from the Crown. These are quickly added to my existing pool of 5. My elite support, newly arrived, can now disembark. They will be assigned to one of 3 forces identified by colored banners. And the most important shipment, the real map for this region. That's right, a new map, which is now the real map. The crowned soldiers disembark, quickly moving up the beach. For now, I assign them to my reserves under the purple banner. Each force under a banner is color-coded on a tray. I can move units between forces without supply costs as long as they are all on the same table. The entire force moves forward a half-day's march to North Galloways. This costs 1 supply. You see, for those of you that may not know, I am playing this campaign across 4 tables. A map tells me the spatial relationship between the tables and any imaginary roads or terrain between them. Having the wrong map was a big problem for Christopher. All my forces have now moved into the Galloways. I have my main force under the red banner, and I have 2 reserve forces, rather large forces, under the yellow. Are some of the road relationships. This road here, the Iron Lane South, I can get to that by exiting the table. This is Southern Galloway, the town of Marwood. I can exit the table through this road, and that gets me to the Crimson Vale. Now that road over there, which is also in Southern Galloway, that's this road here, that's the Silent Trail. Now the Silent Trail will get me to Caldrine, which is my ultimate goal here. That's the 4th table. All right, so exiting through that pass will actually give me a shortcut here where I don't have to pay anything, and then it'll get me into that road. And actually that is a shorter route because this is a half day, and then 1 day I'll only be paying 3 supply costs if I leave, exit one of my main forces through that pass because of the way the roads are. Okay, so I would avoid this long road south. That road is through this exit here. that road, this crossroad here, this is the crossroads, that exit is this here. Okay, and so this is North Galloway, South Galloway. So there you go. And there's the town of Madhine, which is that town over there as well. So, okay, so that gives us an idea so that I can start planning which way my forces are going to exit the table when I need to go into Caldrine.
Let me now give you a little more insight. Map 1, the map I started this campaign with, is on the left side of the screen. Notice how Caldrine, table number 4, was only a half day away from the Galloways. Map number 2, my current and real map, now shows Caldrine to be further away. This table, fourth table, which I named Caldrine, is my objective. This is where the final battle will take place and will now cost more supply to get to. In addition to any supply costs of moving around within a table, that is. There are many ways to save and gain supply units. Random events and the liberation of towns or regions will contribute to my supply pool. I can always ask my Queen Regent for additional supply through arcane communication, but she may not always, well, be able to send them. Speaking of arcane communication, the logistic phase is in full swing as Christopher sends a small expeditionary force south to the Crimson Vale. That's table number 3 on our map. Smaller scouting forces do not pay supply costs to move between tables. However, they do pay 1 supply per 12 inches of movement on the actual tables that they are on. At the end of Marwood Road, there is a question mark. This triggers a random travel event using a deck I constructed out of playing cards. I draw a card and consult a homebrew table. The result is a surplus of supply today from the towns. Each town is going to give me 2 supply, in making that a total of 4. In addition, each town normally gives me 1 supply each on a daily basis. So when I add the 4 and the normal daily 2, I get a total of 6 supply for my pool today. The logistic phase continues with all my newly supplied forces moving and repositioning to strengthen the Galloways.
Okay, the logistic phase for day 3 is now over. I came out from a battle last night, and so the house rule is that I don't have to roll a PEF check the following day. And that just gives a little break in between. But night is now going to approach, and so we do have to make a PEF check for night. So what happened is this force here, my purple reserves, is now camped alongside my yellow force. My yellow force is going to move through this road and hopefully get to where Christopher and his main force is. And that's going to be important because I want them to leave together into Caldrine. I want Christopher to have a reserve force, and that yellow banner has all my cannon. Also, I have 2 scouts. One is ready to leave the table, and I have another scout here. This one is going into Caldrine. That's the road to Caldrine according to the map. And this one is going to the Crimson Vale to check out the Crimson Vale and prepare a force that will then go and retrieve a magical artifact from that region. The Crimson Vale is purposely a very small region. It's a small table surface, not ideal for large-scale battles, especially in the scale that I'm using. So I'm doing something different. Now on Patreon, I posted a poll to see if the Royal Council agreed with me going into the Crimson Vale. 66% said yes, go after the magical artifact, and 33% said no. Be cautious, don't waste time there. Rather go into Caldrine instead, which is my objective. So I'm sorry to the 33% of the Royal Council. I will be cautious though. But my queen is also pretty excited about a magical artifact being in that region. So what I decided to do is something different. Thanks to the fact that our queen has invested in 2 Hour Wargames battle tome with all the rules we need for different situations of combat. And all our soldiers are trained in these rules. So what I decided to do is that table will be fought with the rules of Swordplay 2018, also by 2 Hour Wargames, and of course our primary rules for all other battles are warrior heroes to be king. 2 different rules of engagement for different situations. And we also have Sister Guinevere, who is a new recruit, a cleric from the town of Marwood, and she will be accompanying this little expedition. That little scouting force is going to represent a party of characters that is going into the Crimson Vale. But first, night falls, because they're not going to get there till night. Night falls, and we have to solve for a PEF, see if a small enemy force enters the table tonight in Galloways.
And so our detachment begins their journey to the Crimson Vale, living off the land as they go. This will mark the end of day 3, because by the time they arrive on table 3, it is nighttime, and I have to mark it on the chart. I add a blue gem to the box labeled night, and so day 3 has ended. We now go to the night phase of day 3. It is night in the Galloways, and I check for a night encounter since I didn't check during the day. I make a series of rolls to determine if an encounter will take place. The result is a yes. This will be a small, unconventional force entering North Galloways. I have 2 reserve armies in North Galloways that can respond. I chose to detach a defense force from my yellow banner and have them deployed according to the grid mechanic on 2 Hour Wargames. I will be using my primary rules, warrior heroes to be king, despite these being small, unconventional forces. The enemy force of 4 units, 3 bodies, is still unrevealed. They are identified again by a couple of rolls on a reconstructed army list for the undead. The first roll reveals a catapult on the right wing of this enemy force.
Okay, I wasn't expecting a catapult. So there is a catapult with a skeleton crew. Very cool. I'll get to see how siege engines work. And then we have a skeleton unit with some ghosts. And I promoted some random captains to be leaders in these 2 armies. We always need a leader, so there's the leader for the undead force and some vampire warriors. On my side, there's my wagon there, and this is all from Yellow Force. So they have the cannon. So we will have a cannon up on that hill. We have some infantry. There's the leader that I just promoted for this little encounter. And that's it. That's what this is, a little night encounter. This isn't a major force, but it's going to be a tricky force. All right, let's get playing.
First, we check the war rating for both leaders. These rolls are compared to a table that gives us the actual war rating. This stat translates to war points that then allow to pay for activations. Each of our leaders have a war rating of 2 in this particular game. This means that they can each activate 2 bodies. The battle begins with the attacking force getting initiative. The skeleton crew fire their catapult using 2d6, adding the results together to get a maximum range. Only one unit in line of sight and under this range can be hit. They chose to target my heavy cavalry. However, measuring from the center of the catapult, the skelly crew rolled a 7, so the projectile falls short of the intended target. Empty eye sockets look in dismay. War rating is then deducted to begin my turn. The artillery on the hill fires a deafening blast on the unit of skellies just ahead. The dice gods smile upon me. Cannon use a slightly different system than medieval war engines. In this case, I add the 3 dice to get the maximum range of 18 inches. 2 ones means the cannon explodes. Measuring from the center of the gun, I just managed to hit. The skellies are automatically disordered as a cannonball blasts their ranks.
Okay, so first round is over. First full turn. We only have 2 war points apiece, so that means one unit's not going to be able to move. In my case, it was this one. In their case, it's the vampires. I got very lucky with these cannon. I rolled 3 6s, so adding them together would give me the 18 inches. So anywhere within 18 inches, the target would be hit. However, as you'll see, cannon are notoriously dangerous. I got lucky. We're going to see in future rolls because it could be very bad. My cavalry is about to charge the catapult. They had to turn 45 degrees, so they have to use up half of their movement, which is unfortunate. But they're on their way to charge the skelly catapult. All right, round 2.
On the right wing of the force, the skeleton crew fire their catapult again, rolling a maximum range of 6 inches this time. One unit can be hit within this range. The target, of course, is my advancing cavalry, but the projectile comes short and hits the ground in a puff of dirt. With the final war point, a vampire warrior unit moves forward. One thing I have learned is how important managing war points can be. Armies are definitely slowed the fewer war points they have, and choosing wisely which units to activate becomes crucial. The black powder cannon fires yet again, filling the air with dark smoke as the projectile is hurled forward. Or is it?
Okay, this is why cannon are so dangerous. I had the little pieces of cotton marking the 3 ranges that I rolled, a maximum of 5. This was why it was so important to get these guys out of here. I realized that when I started using the system for the cannon. These guys, if they had not moved out of there, they would have been disordered as well. Now, my crew, unfortunately, something happened. The projectile exploded very early, right after it left the barrel, and exploded, and all the shards landed in these different areas. Now, my cannon crew is disordered because 2 inches, you measure from the middle of the gun, 2 inches mean they get hit. And there's the roll. So they could rout themselves out of the table. Or if I roll a double 1, the gun has exploded. So, yikes.
The mysterious cloaked skeleton gives an order and raises a bony hand. The ghosts reform to the leader's flank. The final war point has vampire warriors slamming into the human infantry in the center. An ogre unit is supporting the flank of this unit. The white dice represents the human role. Remember, in Warrior Heroes to be King, we consult a melee table with a series of modifiers that can be added to each roll. If the difference between the grand totals are over 3, then the losing unit is removed. In this case, the infantry scored 4 points higher than the vampires, and the vampires are removed. On the undead left, the catapult is charged by the knights who destroy the skeleton crew. The Rep 5 of the knights have a big impact as a modifier, boosting the roll of 3 on the dice. This was significant over the Skelly's result of 2. The knights then perform their follow-up move of 6 inches. Meanwhile, the cannon crew finally rally behind the gun after their mishap. In the center, a Skelly unit attempts to flank the infantry, but thanks to the heroic efforts of the human leader, it is routed. A counterattack by the human infantry sees the leader and his ghosts routed as the humans roll a 6 before modifications.
Okay, this engagement is now over, and the ghosts, as soon as the leader is routes, the ghosts go with them. That's kind of a house rule I have. They're not technically hurt by physical weapons. They're only hurt by magic or by a cleric, or if the cleric is with the unit, but they are tied to the leader psychically, whatever leader is on the board. So once that leader routes and its unit routes, the ghosts, wherever they are, they also route. So we are victorious. We destroyed this very small force, which was meant to harass my camps at night. And here we go. The cannon sits on the hill. We saw how that worked. And okay, day 3, night is now over. We now go to the morning of day 4. I'm not sure what his unholiness, Vlokmir, the vampire count, is thinking, throwing these dead men to harass my tired and exhausted army. I mowed them down like grass. But now, my attention has to shift to the Crimson Veil, because as my heroic soldiers fought here tonight, this rabble of bones, my party of heroes should now be arriving in the Crimson Veil. I only hope that they have prudence and do not fight at night, for they must rest and fight in the morning, hopefully. And the party does arrive to the Crimson Veil on this night, the same night that a battle is taking place in the Galloways, about a day's journey away. Who are these heroes? We will have to meet them on the morning of day 4. Stay tuned for the next video. They will be using a completely new rule of engagement in order to get the artifact we need.
Sir Tristan, Knight of the Crimson Orchard, under Christopher, leads his unit to the Crimson Veil. Will they succeed in finding this artifact? Is there actually an artifact in this region? We will see on the morning of day 4. Meanwhile, time moves fast. A sense of urgency creeps into Christopher as a total of 7 supplies were used today. Small victories will mean nothing if Christopher cannot defeat the vampire count, Vlokmir the Unholy.
Alright folks, thank you for joining me. If you are a patron and you're seeing this, thank you very much. If you're seeing this on Patreon, I can't do it without you, so thank you patrons. If you are viewing this on YouTube, thank you very much for viewing. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to see more of this campaign, or check out Scratch Builder Monthly if you want to help support my work. Scratch Builder Monthly will have updates on the lore to this campaign. July issue talks all about some of the lore and some of the work that I put into this campaign with the miniatures, painting the miniatures and all that. And or check out our Patreon. There are bonus videos and hopefully an interview with Julie at the very end. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.